Special greetings to you, noble pupils of JC Best Schools International. Welcome to yet another week of brainstorming academic exercise. This is week 4 of third term 2019-2020 academic session. Once again, I am your noble teacher, Mr. Uguche Ezekiel. Today, we'll be looking at an interesting topic titled Electronic Communication Devices. Electronic Communication Devices. Meaning of electronic communication devices would be the specific subtopic. What would be our specific objectives for today's class? That at the end of this class, pupils should be able to define electric or electronic communication devices, give examples of electronic communication devices, and state reasons why electronic communication devices don't usually work well. Let us look at the meaning of electronic communication devices. Before looking at the meaning, communication is a medium through which information is passed from one person to another, so that there are three key elements of communication: the sender of the message itself, and the receiver of the message. But the mediums through which we communicate vary, or there are different ways or mediums of communication. Those days, we communicate using various mediums, especially when it comes to mass communication. You see, our forefathers will use what we call town clerks or town criers to pass across certain information or communicate to members of the community in his kingdom. We also have the use of emissaries, where one kingdom will send one information or communicate to another kingdom by sending messengers who would travel distant miles. But in our modern society, all these are not necessary, because science and technology has made it very easy for us to communicate using specific electronic gadgets. So, what is electronic communication devices? Those gadgets are the things we call electronic communication devices. By way of simple definition, electronic communication devices are those devices used for controlling the flow of electrical currents for the purpose of information processing and system control. So if you want to process information in our modern world, there are certain electronic devices that will aid the process, that will help you communicate effectively, either to an individual or a group of individuals, or even to a very large audience. So, electronic communication devices, to be clear, some electronic devices are wired, while others are wireless. Like the one we have on the screen here, you see is wired. But there are some devices you use for communication and they are not wired at all. They are wireless. Let's see examples of electronic communication devices. The first example we have here is radio. We all use radio for communication. People receive a lot of information from the radio, and that makes it is an electronic gadget. Some radios are wired while others are wireless. Number two, we talk about television. In our various homes, we have television. It is an electronic device that is used for communication, audio visual communication. You hear, that's audio. You can hear, and you can also see, visual, audio visual. Unlike radio, which is strictly audio for hearing. We have number three, fax. It's an electronic communication device that was used those days. It is not too prominent, even though prominent today. It is not too popular or common today, even though it is one of the products of science and technology. One of the products of science and technology. Another example is telex. Telex is also a product of science, modern science and technology, but telex is not too common today. Telex is an example of electronic communication devices. We also have telephone. Telephone, like the one we have on our screen, is more or less landline, but we have modern phones such as handsets, or what some people call mobile phones. Like mobile phones are very, very common today in our society. Another example of electronic communication devices is telegraph. Telegraph was used at the early stage of civilization. So telegraph is an example. Then we have the use of email, which is popular and common today. You cannot use email without the internet. So email has become one of the most viable means of communication. The internet is another means through which we communicate electronically. The internet, like you see what we have there, the shape of a laptop, and you see how it connects to the world. Any kind of information you want to disseminate or pass across, you can do that using the internet. Having looked at the examples of electronic communication devices, let's now see reasons why electronic communication devices do not always work, especially in developing countries. Why is it difficult to make electronic devices work? Or even when it is working, why would it not work effectively? It is important we know why it doesn't work effectively, so that we'll guide against it, or we'll see how we'll come up with solutions that will help it work most effectively. The first reason is poor installation. Poor installation means when it could result from inexperienced experts, those who don't know how to install electronic devices. They will install it in a manner and style that it will not work effectively. Why? Because they lack the skill capacity and technical know-how to install the devices. It's a problem or is a reason. The second essential reason why electronic communication devices do not always work is poor or bad signals / network. When the signal is poor, when the network is bad, the chances of having electronic devices not work effectively is very high. Like you see on the screen, we have low signal. Assuming there is it's at this the tallest bar, the signal moves through to the tallest bar, you can say the signal is very high, but you can see low signal. At times you even see no signal at all. How would an electronic device work effectively if the internet signal is very low? Then we also talk about bad weather due to heavy rain, storm, and wind. That could affect the effective utilization of electronic devices. Number 4, we have use of outdated / old devices. If you don't use modern devices for communication, you may find it difficult to communicate effectively. Reason being that the old devices may not have all the requirements or may not have the necessary facility or the necessary components that will match the standards of modern technology. So it could be one of the reasons why your electronic device will not work effectively. Like you see people using 3G when we have 4G, and possibly today they are talking about 5G network. But many people have a lot of issues with the 5G network. Some fear that it could cause some health and environmental challenges or environmental hazards or health challenges. While the debate is on, while research are still going on as to whether the 5G network is good or not, it is important that we use up-to-date electronic communication devices. We also have poor or interrupted electricity supply as a reason why communication devices, electronic communication devices, would not work very well. In countries, developing countries like Nigeria, where power supply is poor or where there is interruption in power supply, electronic devices would not work. So that's a major problem. Then, what do we do to make electronic communication devices work effectively? Number 1, there should be constant power supply by electricity distribution companies. The power supply should be constant. It should not be interrupted. Number 2, citizens should ensure prompt and regular payment of bills so that service providers would do their job effectively. If you don't pay your electricity bill, for example, the network, the service providers will not be able to provide, will not have the resources to continue in the supply of electricity, and that could affect communication devices. Number 3, outdated communication devices should be discouraged. when there are new devices that will match the standard of improved technology, we must learn to use them and discourage the use of outdated communication devices. That way, your device will become very effective and communication will be smooth and easy. We also talk about number 4, electrical engineers and technicians should master the art of device installation, repair, and maintenance. If you are an expert on the installation, repair, and maintenance of electronic communication device, you should master how to do your job properly so that your installation will be very, very nice and effective. Number 5, government should create enabling environments for communication industry to flourish. Give loans to businesses that want to engage in communication related trade so that more monies will be made and they will be able to sustain the supply or the rendering of service in that particular sector of the economy. Then finally, in this class, we say the masses should be sensitized on the safe and acceptable ways of using electrical devices. Many people, a lot of people do not have that precaution. They are not conscious of safety measures. They are not conscious of being very careful on how to use electronic communication devices. So there is need for government and relevant organizations to educate individuals, groups, and citizens of the country on the safest way, the easiest and acceptable ways of using electrical communication devices. That exactly would be some of the ways electronic communication devices would work effectively. We've come to the end of today's class, but we have a very simple assignment for our dear pupils. And the assignment says, differentiate between wired and wireless communication devices. State the differences. By the grace of God, we'll be having the second lesson, and until I come your way in that second lesson, I remain your noble teacher, Mr. Uguche Ezekiel. Thank you, pupils. God bless you.